Welcome to your first look. We are at Washougal, Racer X, Jason Weigandt, Kellen Brauer, all brought to you by 6D Helmets. Beautiful place to come racing, and we've got a beautiful championship fight with Eli Tomac just now edging ahead of Chase Sexton in the series standings. And the fans love Jet Lawrence, and he's giving them what they want to see. Wins. We'll talk about Jet and his distaste for this track a little later in the show. But Kellen, let's first talk 450s. You had a chance to talk to Chase Sexton. He's doing his best to keep his chin up, despite an almost historic streak now with Eli Tomac winning 7 in a row and him taking second 7 in a row.
Yeah, it is. It's a weird phenomenon.
Yes.
We don't see it very often where you have someone win, that many in a row and then have the same guy finish right behind him. But when we look back through like the annals of history a little bit, and we saw, the most recent one was Stu and Alessi in 08.
Yep.
The longest one was Ricky and Wyndham in 05. You look back at those and those were not as close as this is right now. Like, exactly. I feel like Sexton he's inching there. He's closer. Obviously, he was really good at Millville, pushing Eli all the way. And we're coming to a racetrack where he's happier. He said last week, he's excited for these final 5 rounds because it's all more clay-based tracks, whereas last week it was more like kind of that sandy base. So he's looking forward to these last 5 for sure.
Yeah, he said all along that the sand is kind of his weakness, so this track could be better for him. So let's just clarify that. Yes, there was a 12-race streak of Stewart over Alessi was a 7-race streak. Yep. That's tied for what we have now. And there's a 12-race streak with Carmichael over Wyndham. At no point going into those Carmichael-Wyndham motos or Alessi versus Stewart motos did we think maybe Alessi or Wyndham will win the moto or the title. That's the difference. It's super close right now. It's beast mode Tomac. He's hard to beat on any track. He's surprisingly good at Washougal also. But they've led to compelling racing. It's been exciting.
It really has, and I think that's what kind of makes it feel like it's not just a runaway yet. Like Tomac has been inching and finally got the championship lead away now. But all this time, like even the motos where Eli was going beast mode, like first moto or second moto last weekend, some of the Southwick rides that he had and stuff like that. You can see that Sexton is figuring it out. He's figuring out how to get to that level and match the pace. And like he said last week, dude, he wants to beat Eli while he's still here. And we know Eli's not going to be racing next year, unfortunately, in the Nationals. So Chase wants to go out there and show that, look, he can beat the best in the world on any given day.
Great little build up there. We had a chance to catch up with Sexton. You did earlier today.
Yeah, so last year, this was my first and only podium. I actually ended up winning, but this track has always been good for me. I like the dirt. Grew up riding a lot of ruts, so this is a really firm, hard-based clay track. Ruts are really good, so that always suits my style. And last year, finally paid off. Had a good race, and yeah, looking forward to hopefully doing that again. And like I said, the track's fun. It's got a good flow to it. A little bit different from a lot of the tracks we race, just because it's in the trees, a lot of shadows, and just something different. So I'm excited. Yeah, so this is our 4th race in a row. It was broke up good this year because it was 4 races, 4 races, and 4 races. So, yeah, it's that 4th race is you kind of get to that point where you get a little bit tired, but you're trying to stay somewhat fresh for these races. So this week I had to kind of cut back a little bit and try and come to this race a little bit more fresh, and knowing we have a weekend or 2 weekends off to kind of rest a little bit, then also build back up for the last 4 races. So for me, yeah, put it all out there this weekend, knowing that we have a couple weeks off, and then go back home, get a little bit of rest in, and then go back to work and come out swinging for the last and final 4.
Okay, so always good to peruse the pits on a Friday afternoon, get ready for racing. Beautiful weather here. We should have it again tomorrow. Not going to be super hot. Reminder that this show is brought to you by 6D Helmets, committed to the relentless pursuit of brain protection. 6D's patented Omni-Directional Suspension technology provides protection capabilities unmatched by any other helmet design. Established in 2011, 6D is the technology leader in both motorcycle and bicycle helmet design. We always say this, that the TV cameras do not do it justice. We are standing in what on TV looks like a flat first turn. We're having a tough time standing here. Like, it is legitimately off camber.
It's a good little lean angle for sure. It feels like it's a proper berm coming into this first corner. Like, even looking at it here, I think what TV doesn't show is how much it rises coming into this first corner too. Like, as you're getting on the brakes, you're like, decompressing the suspension a little bit, maybe even kind of like lifting into the corner a little bit. Pretty hard corner to get like stopped and properly to the inside, which is why I see a lot of people all the way out to the edge of the track out there trying to get the whole shot. So it's a tough corner.
The whole track is tricky. You'll hear the riders talk a lot tomorrow about how slippery it is. I'm not the one racing it, so maybe I can't speak on this, but to me, the idea that the track is slippery and that's a challenge, they're supposed to be challenges. That's okay to have a challenge. And some riders are better at it than others, which kind of mixes it up, which is cool too. We are going to miss, though, the home track specialist, Levi Kitchen. Timing couldn't have been worse. Broke his wrist 2 weeks ago. He's here hanging out with the fans, but not racing.
Yeah, tough timing for that for sure. Especially, he won a moto at Lakewood earlier this year. I think it kind of stirred the little bit of like, ooh, man, when we get back to his home track, we're going to be feeling the vibes. We're going to feel good there. So bummer not to have him here. Obviously, he's still going to be doing some media stuff, so we're going to see him around here this weekend. But I think the home fans really wanted to see Levi out here.
Okay, so the story in that class is Jet Lawrence, and he was so mad, he said after the engine blew at Redbud, he's like, I want to win every race from here on out. And he's done that. But he left a little caveat of, I don't know about Washougal. He does not like this track. He has not minced words. You talked to him after the race last week.
Yeah, not too stoked on this track. Said a little bit, dealing with the shadows. The same stuff that most people say about this track. It's slippery, dealing with the shadows. It's kind of tight in some sections. It's kind of tough to make some passes as well. But like you said, it's a different challenge. I almost wonder a little bit sometimes with that. We've had the last 4 or 5 rounds at this point be more like, deep tilled tracks. So these guys are getting used to. Obviously, last week was maybe a little bit harder because people weren't running the scoop. These guys might be getting used to that, like sandier conditions. And then this is like a curveball because it is harder. You're going to have a lot, more slippery conditions. The track is going to slide away at the top, and then you're going to almost have like kind of that like California, blue groove stuff a little bit. So I think some of that might be playing into why these guys don't love this track, but I mean, picturesque-wise, it's beautiful.
It is, and if the track is slippery, I just say 2 cliches, that's racing, and they all have to race on the same track. That's just part of the challenge to find traction out here. So Jet's not a big fan of it. He said he's just hoping to get a start and maybe use his fitness to win because he doesn't think he'll be the fastest guy out here. We'll have to see who can challenge him. Certainly his brother, Hunter, and also Joe Shimoda's been going good lately. One other rider to talk about is another local product. How about the all-bike specialist, Carson Brown, is going to be here on a YZ250. Wait. I've just been told the industry will not allow us to talk about two-strokes on the show. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. We're totally allowed to talk about two-strokes. He's on a YZ250. He told me he's actually been testing for a while. He's got a pro circuit motor. This could be good.
It could. It really could. Again, kind of like with Levi, I think, they having that home field advantage obviously plays into a huge factor. The crowd, they get stoked for Carson Brown. I mean, we saw at the Pulp Live show earlier this year. It was like a packed auditorium being stoked about it. So once that two-stroke comes out here, revs, you see the smoke in the air. It's going to be a good weekend. It's going to be fun to see. I believe Matt Burkeen is here too. So two-stroke squaring off, a little bit of Yamaha two-stroke battling in the 450 class. Going to be fun to watch.
Yep. So a lot of things to watch here. We'll see how the championship unfolds in a 450 class. We'll see if this track is truly as bad for Jet Lawrence as Jet Lawrence says it is. That's your first look brought to you by 6D Helmets. We will see you on Saturday.